I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you did. It's the If It's Sports Podcast, episode number 17. All right, my name's Trav. I got my main man Josh here with me. I know some of you guys are wondering why I'm leading off the episode this week, but Josh is a little bit down this week. As you all probably know, his Eagles had a rough weekend. They did lose their starting quarterback, so he's a little down right now. One way you can help Josh pick his spirits up a little bit would be to head on over to the iTunes or Google Play music stores. Go ahead and search for If It's Sports. That way you guys can subscribe to our podcast and stay up to date with all the latest episodes.
It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years. 40 years.
NFL Week 14, big stories. Let's get right into the breaking news. Carson Wentz, the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, has been ruled out with an ACL injury for the rest of the season. Looks like he tore his left ACL, Josh. I know that's been some rough news for you this weekend. How you doing with that, man?
It's been a very difficult last 12 hours. The emotions have been a roller coaster. I don't know. I'm struggling right now, Trav. I'm struggling.
Yeah, that's a tough one to take. I mean, anytime you lose your starting quarterback, especially when your team is in playoff contention, I mean, you guys were favorites to be in that Super Bowl. That just adds to the league's injury list of big names being out for the season. Another big quarterback out. This just looked like a freak injury to me, Josh. He was diving for the end zone. Most ACL injuries are with the foot planted in the ground in some kind of way with some kind of force coming towards the outside of the knee, pushing it in. This looked to be just a freak injury with him diving, feet off the ground, two players kind of hitting him from opposite directions. You could kind of see his leg kind of, move awkwardly there. I think some are even saying, some of the doctors may even be saying it happened on his step before he dove for the end zone. I didn't really see it there. Regardless, you did lose your quarterback for the season. He's out with the ACL. You've got Nick Foles as your backup. He is 8-2 as an Eagle. Going back to 2013, he did have the best touchdown to interception ratio, 27 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He did make the Pro Bowl that year. How do you feel about Nick coming in as your backup?
I think he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. I think, really the main thing is, can he get the timing in this short of a time with the wide receivers really to get into the flow of the game? Another thing is Nick Foles hasn't been the most durable quarterback throughout his whole career. Something that you've got to worry about there. If he gets banged up, I think it's definitely over with for the Eagles there. So we've got to protect Nick Foles. The line hasn't been that great, and that's that's what Wentz was able to do was to make up for that deficiency at the line by moving the pocket, being a mobile quarterback there. We're definitely going to miss that. It's tough. We definitely bought in and moving into Pennsylvania. I was really loving his sophomore season that he was having. I think he was up there for an MVP type candidate this year. There's a tough loss to have. This is typical Eagles fashion right here. We're always looking for that other shoe to drop. Not to get overlooked. We definitely won the battle there. Probably lost the war, but we were able to get that win over the Rams. It's a high scoring game there, 43-35. That's going to clinch a playoff spot for the Eagles. They're looking really good. Headed into the playoffs. Outside of the injury there to Wentz, they got some time to fine-tune it in there. I don't think all hope is lost. But, it's just a somber day for all Eagles fans, Eagle Nation, sending out the speedy recovery to Wentz coming back next year. But we're looking at a different dynamic going into the playoffs for sure.
Definitely. Just to reiterate what you said with Foles, you are going to miss the escapability in the pocket that Wentz did bring to you. Just his leadership and, just everything he was bringing to your ball club. And, going back to earlier in the year, earlier in the podcast, you did talk about you were just kind of waiting to see what happened. You thought it might be a little bit more in the playoffs when something like this happened in the actual playoffs.
But I thought it was probably the NFC Championship game. We laid an egg or just didn't show up. But an injury like this, you can't expect anything like that. But it's definitely a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and Wentz he is tough. I mean, the guy stayed in the game 4 more plays, ended up throwing a touchdown pass that gave you the lead. Yep. So, you've got a warrior at quarterback. He is a leader. So, definitely just got to want to see him have a speedy recovery. Luckily, it just is the ACL, no other ligament damage, no MCL, no PCL, no LCL. So, hopefully he has a speedy recovery and gets back at the helm for you guys.
Definitely next season we'll be looking at it. But sticking with this season, switching over there to 2 teams that are still battling it out for a playoff position. That's the Panthers and the Vikings. That was a big game that took place down there in Carolina.
That was a huge win in Carolina by the Panthers, defeating the team I had ranked number 1 on my power rankings last week, the Minnesota Vikings. Coming on the shoulders of a big 62-yard run by Cameron Newton late in the game, setting them up for the go-ahead touchdown for them to take that one 31-24.
Yeah, they did a great job on the ground there. Cam had that big run. I think Jonathan Stewart had a real big run earlier in the game. It was just an impressive win for the Panthers. You talked about them not really having, that signature win this year so far. They did beat the Patriots, but that was, it was a big win for them. This is another one in the NFC. It's really going to help them in there. They're tied right now with the Saints atop the AFC South.
Yeah, just a big win for the Carolina Panthers. Like you said, Jonathan Stewart, big game, 3 touchdowns, 103 yards rushing.
Some fantasy owners were happy about that.
Definitely some happy fantasy owners. Just some big plays in this game. Carolina intercepted a pick off of Stephon Diggs. Actually deflected off his helmet. They made a big interception there.
That was really the story of the game for me. Was those the Viking wide receivers. They really let Keenum down. They had 5 or 6 drops throughout the whole game there. Really could turn the game around there. I think Thielen had a couple of drops that may have led even to a touchdown. So that was just a huge letdown from the Vikings wide receiver. They've been sharp all season long.
Yeah, and the Carolina defensive pass rush, their front 4, they got to Keenum. They really made him show how good he is escaping the pocket, which he did a great job in the first half.
Really in the first half,
escaping
definitely.
the pocket, stepping up, throwing the ball. Second half, I think Carolina got coached up a little bit about, staying in their pass lane, so they did have some better discipline in their pass rush. Closed him in. Even old man Peppers got in on a few sacks. That was just a great game there. Second half, the defense really stepped up, shut Case Keenum down, and the offense got it done when they needed to. Another exciting game we saw Sunday was the Blizzard Bowl of 2017. In that one, we saw the Colts taking on the Buffalo Bills. Did you see any of this blizzard that was taking place up in Buffalo?
I definitely saw the blizzard. I didn't see too much of the game, especially in the first half. That snow was just coming down. All you could really see was a whiteout on the field. There was probably a foot of snow that was on the field. Grounds crew was working at keeping the lines and everything.
Grounds crew was busy.
Yeah, they were busy all game long. But, it was just snowing really hard. It was a kind of fun game, interesting game to watch.
It was. Kind of reminded me of the last game played in our old neighborhood, Rolling Hills, the Snow Bowl we had up there. Last game ever played. Yeah,
we were young back then, and I think we left that one all beaten, battered. It was a great game in the Snow Bowl. One player that definitely didn't look like the snow was affecting him was Shady McCoy there in overtime, broke a 20-yard run, and it's really pulled away from guys at full speed.
Yeah, Shady was running like it was just green grass out there. He definitely didn't run like it was a foot of snow on the field. Another guy that ran fairly well was Frank Gore. He tried to get it going late. Colts did come down and score on I think was an option pass. Brissett threw a nice pass off the option, came back, 2-point conversion, ran the same play to the other side of the field. Ref saw a pick involved in that one and called it back, so they ended up going for the extra point. So after about 5 minutes of clearing off a patch of snow, he finally was able to make that kick, and he bent that one like Beckham. It started off way right and came back through, sent it to overtime, and like you said, from there it was all Shady McCoy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like seeing the Colts going for the win there, going for two. But then, after you get the penalty, you've got to kick it and go into overtime. But
Definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely an entertaining game. Keeps the Buffalo Bills in the playoff picture with the big win over the Colts. Two teams that we've been keeping an eye on, AFC West. We've kind of picked sides on this one. You went with the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chargers. We're going to ride with those teams throughout the regular season here. Your Chiefs got a win there.
Yeah, I'm staying with the Chiefs. Like you mentioned here, we have kind of been going back and forth on this from the last couple of episodes. My Chiefs took on the Oakland Raiders. They were able to defeat them 26-15. Alex Smith did throw for 268. Kareem Hunt ended up getting over 100 yards, about 116. Tyreek Hill had about 75 yards receiving. So kind of looks like the Chiefs are getting back on track after a couple of down weeks. Still not at that early season form they had. I'm not really sure what's going on with that offense. It's just still not clicking 100%. I'm not sure the defense really did as much as maybe Oakland, Carr, and those receivers not doing so much.
Yeah, Oakland got in their own way really a whole lot more than the Kansas City defense stopped them there. That's really what's got me leaning more towards the Chargers is just sort of some of the inefficiencies on offense with Kansas City that they've had over the last couple weeks, and then the defense. They're struggling just a little bit there. Chargers look good. Phillip Rivers out there throwing for over 300 yards. They really put Washington away in the first half there. They got a 30-13 win over the Washington. I like the way that they're rolling. It's going to be good, though. We don't really have to argue about it. They're going to battle each other next week.
So it's setting up nicely for Saturday. We're going to see those Chargers taking on those Chiefs. Both teams coming in at 7-6. This is going to be a Saturday game, so we're getting some good early Saturday NFL football. So going to be playing for first place out in the AFC West.
All right, so listener says it's definitely something that you can help us out with. What do we need to wager on this one? What's going to happen to the loser in this battle?
Well, if it's going to be money, Josh, I may have to get big Roger Goodell involved in it because it looks like we got some news coming out of his camp. Looks like he just inked a 5-year extension worth about $200 million.
On paper, it's a huge deal. Definitely the media's reporting. Everybody's kind of picking up the headlines that it's $200 million over 5 years. That's going to be about $40 million annually. When you really look at the deal and kind of break it down, he's only guaranteed $4 million, and I say he's only guaranteed $4 million. That's pretty good change right there. But
sure.
He's going to be looking at probably, if the NFL had a good year, he's probably going to bring home about $20 million. If they have a great year, it's probably going to be in about the $30 million range. And then if he nails the negotiation, TV ratings are excellent. He hits all of his metrics there, and that he could get to that $40 million range. But really, I don't think there's any way that he can get to $40 million a year. So you're probably going to see him taking home $20 to $30 million, somewhere in that range. Which that's a great
regardless,
deal.
It's still a bunch of money.
Yeah. So one guy that was a little bit upset about this still was Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Jerry Jones. The man Jerry Jones himself tried to make a last-minute attempt to block this deal, but Roger's boy Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, who's also the chairman of the compensation committee, decided to go ahead and finalize that deal before Jerry had a chance to get all his people together and stop it. So the deal was final, and looks like Mr. Goodell is going to get paid.
Yes, he's going to do pretty well for himself. We always recap the injuries of the week. Of course, you touched on the huge injury of the week.
Yeah, the Carson Wentz injury. That's got to be the biggest one in the news right now. Obviously, he will miss the remainder of the season. Another big injury, Seattle Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner. He did exit the game in about the third quarter. Looks like he pulled a hamstring. So he'll probably be day-to-day throughout the week. He should be back on the field, but that's definitely a injury that affected the Seattle Seahawks in that game this weekend against the Jaguars. Looks like the Jags scored 2 touchdowns while Bobby was sidelined there. So Seattle definitely wants to get him back on the field and healthy. Another big injury was Josh McCown, the quarterback for the New York Jets. He went
loss
down
for them.
Yeah, big loss. I mean, he was playing some good football too, even though the Jets didn't have the best record. He was playing solid quarterback.
It's got the Jets to 5 wins. I mean,
that's saying something.
It is.
So Josh McCown's going to be gone for the year with a broken hand.
Yeah, I had a couple other ones. Had the quarterback for the Bills, Peterman. He got injured in that game. They had to bring in the backup to finish out that game. Amari Cooper, he re-injured his ankle for the Raiders. And then on that Thursday night game there, Alvin Kamara, very early in that game, got banged up. I really think that affected the Saints' offense when he got injured. He's in the concussion protocol. And one other injury that I kind of want to talk about, Trav, did you see the injury to Tom Savage, quarterback for the Texans?
Yeah, that was real scary, just the way he was laying there and kind of just out of it and shaking a little bit there.
Yeah, almost looked like he was having a seizure on the field there.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, 5 minutes later, he's back on the field. It kind of makes you question the concussion protocol and what a player goes through. I mean, if you see that on the field, somebody from the league office or something's got to be, hitting one of the refs or some of the sideline doctors. Hey, this guy may be, need to be reevaluated.
Yeah, and I think they've got actual doctors and people that are supposed to be in the booth kind of looking for this kind of stuff and looking for these kind of hits to the head. I'm not sure how that one slipped by, but yeah, he was on the ground and he was kind of just, like you said, seizing up there with his arms stiff and everything, just looked out of it, but not really sure how that one slipped through the cracks, but luckily a coach was able to stop him from going back out on the field for a third time.
Make the ground shake.
All right, Josh, let's get into the power rankings in the NFL after Week 14. Who do you got starting at number 5?
I'm going to reward the Panthers with their big win over the Vikings. This is their signature win that they were looking for, able to take care of a really good Vikings team. I think you had them at your number 1 spot last week. So I think this is a big win for the Panthers. I still got questions with their wide receivers. They're going to have a couple tough battles with some divisional foes coming up here. So let's see how they finish out the year. But looking good at number 5. I dropped my Eagles to number 4. They got the win, but, they lost Wentz in that. We got to see how Foles kind of, goes in there. So I think number 4 just because of the unknown with the team right now. I've still got the Saints at number 3, even after that bad loss to the Falcons. I'm not going to penalize them as much. I think the Alvin Kamara injury really hurt them. He should be back after a game or so. I really see the Saints as probably a little bit better than the Panthers and the Falcons. So I'm going to leave them at number 3. Number 2,
okay.
They just keep winning. So I've got the Steelers there at number 2. Able to come back there once again. They beat the Ravens last night. Did you have the question mark there? They've got a big gap to fill with Ryan Shazier, their linebacker, who's going to be out, the spinal cord injury. He's making some progress, but he's definitely out for this season and maybe all of football. And then number 1, I was put the Patriots in there on the assumption that they were going to beat the Dolphins. As we started recording there, that game looks like it's getting tight, but the Dolphins have the lead. So I may have made the wrong assumption there on that one. I think there's a saying, what happens when you assume.
Definitely. So,
Trav, what's your top 5 looking like?
Yeah, my top 5, a few similarities there. I kind of have a 5A, 5B going on here. I've got Carolina also at number 5. They're sitting at 9-4 after a big win over the Vikings. I did have the Vikings number 1 last week, but also with the Panthers there at number 5, I've got the Jacksonville Jags.
Okay.
They're also sitting at 9-4. They were a big winner this weekend over a tough Seattle team. Kind of beat them convincingly.
Yeah, it was a physical game.
Yeah, defense looked great. They were able to get pressure on Russell Wilson with just 4 down linemen.
Right.
And, that's great.
That's hard to do.
Anytime you can do that against Russell Wilson, that way you can drop that extra defender back. They played a great game defensively, and offense played well also. So I got Carolina 5A, Jacksonville 5B. Number 4, I've still got the Vikings in there. They're still sitting at 10-3, even though they did lose to a tough Carolina team on the road. They only lost by 7 points. Case Keenum still threw the ball well for 280 yards. Got to leave them in my top 5. I still feel like they're going to be there in the playoffs. So I got the Vikes at number 4. Number 3, I've got your Eagles. So I kind of gave the Eagles a little bit more respect than you did, putting them at number 3. They did get a tough win also in a hostile environment out in the Los Angeles.
I don't know how hostile that was. That looked like the Philly fans traveled very well. It wasn't like up in Seattle where, there was the 12th man and they were going strong. The Philly contingency was pretty strong there in the Coliseum.
It was. But that's still traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast.
That is now.
Time differences and all that's always tough for any team. So still a big win out in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum there. You got to give your boys credit for that. At number 2, I've got the Steelers, even though I hate to say it. They are 11-2. They've won 8 straight. Even though they just continue to squeak by each week, they somehow find a way to win every week. Mike Tomlin just knows how to get his guys to respond to his coaching. They just keep getting wins. So, just win. That's all you got to do in this league.
Right.
At number 1, I'm going with Tom Brady and the Patriots. They're sitting at 10-2. They are playing Monday night right now against the Dolphins, and it's not looking too good. I'm still going to keep the Patriots at number 1. I feel like they're a team that's built for the playoffs just because of who their quarterback is and their coach. So I'm going to keep them at number 1 right now. They've had losses against some pretty tough teams at the time. Kansas City was playing well. The Panthers were a tough team when they played them. They were playing good ball. So I'm going to leave them at 1. So Carolina, Jacksonville, number 5, Vikings 4, Eagles 3, Steelers 2, Patriots 1. Who's just on the outside looking in your top 5?
Yeah, there are a couple of teams that you had in there. The Vikings, I got them right on the edge. I really think they're probably a better team than the Panthers, but I rewarded the Panthers with the win head-to-head on that one. The Jags, they could have definitely snuck in there as well. Defense is really good. That's what you want going into the playoffs is a strong defense. Rams and Seahawks, I've also got them right on the edge. So, there's really 9 teams that I've got my eye on and, get into the playoffs.
And these are probably all wild card or playoff teams. So
they can make some rumbling in here. Really, the Falcons are a team that I don't have really watching. That offense just has been too hit and miss all season long. So, if they got to rolling, maybe, but I don't think they're in the same form that they were last year.
No, I think the Falcons just have too many losses at this point to make any noise going into the playoffs. But a couple teams I've got on the outside are the Saints. Had to take them out after that Thursday night loss to Atlanta, and then the Rams basically dropped them out due to that loss they took to Philly.
Let's look ahead there to next week. We'll start with those Rams. They've got a big matchup, and they can answer some questions with a big win.
Definitely a big game, Los Angeles going up to Seattle against that 12th man. Seattle trying to stay in the hunt for that AFC West race against Los Angeles. Both teams needing to win. Another big game, New England at Pittsburgh.
That's a big matchup. I think number 1 and number 2 teams in the AFC. Can we get some separation in that? How do they look? They're probably going to face each other once again in the playoffs, I believe. Yeah,
probably some home field advantage riding on that game.
Yep.
Another big game, Green Bay at Carolina. Carolina, desperate for a win, another win. Green Bay, who possibly could have the man Aaron Rodgers back at the helm this week.
What would it be if Aaron Rodgers comes back, gets Green Bay hot, and gets them into the playoffs? That would be a heck of a comeback. You'd about have to consider Aaron Rodgers for the MVP because you'd see how much he actually means to this team.
Oh, yeah, it'd be a great story to see that happen.
And then, we talked about it earlier, the Saturday night game is going to be Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And then one game I've got to say, come on, NFL, what are you doing? You've got to do better than this. Our Thursday night game, we have to watch Denver take on the Colts. It's going to be a color rush game, and the uniforms are going to be the best thing that's on that field.
Yeah, we'll probably see Denver in all orange, Indy in all white. But, maybe the NFL could have used that flex scheduling here and flexed them out of that game and put somebody in that game. I'm not sure I don't think the flex scheduling starts till a little bit later in the year, last 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
I guess. I think the NFL thought Peyton Manning was still going to be playing and left this game on the schedule there.
For sure.
really one college game that we've got to recap. Traditional classic game, Army versus Navy. We even had some snowfall in this one. Just a great atmosphere for this game. They really aired it out this game too, didn't they, Trav?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterbacks were both 100% passing in this game. I mean, when have you seen a game where both quarterbacks finished the game at 100% completion percentage?
Just efficient with the offense when it came to passing.
Yeah, even though both quarterbacks only threw the ball one time, both did complete those passes. Army completed a pass for 20 yards, and Navy completed a pass for 2 yards. And that was all we saw through the air. What else happened in this one?
I mean, it was just ground and pound. We saw Army 2 touchdowns. They was able to get the win 14-13 in this one. Tough fought battle. I think Navy had a couple mistakes there at the end of the game, a couple costly penalties that really hurt them. Wasn't quite as disciplined as we're used to seeing Navy be, but still a very exciting game to watch there.
Just a good game to watch all the way around on a good Saturday. Snow game, Army versus Navy. It was everything you asked for. I mean, 14-13 final score. Like you said, Navy had some penalties on their final drive, kind of pushed them back, forced them to kick a tough field goal at the end that they ended up missing. So just a good game all the way around.
It was. Now, that's going to kind of wrap up the regular season like it always does. Before we get back on the air Saturday, the 16th, there's going to be 5 bowl games to take a look at. Troy taking on North Texas, Western Kentucky going against Georgia State. In the LaGarrette Blount Bowl, we're going to have Boise State taking on Oregon. That's probably the big matchup that we've got.
Yeah, we're going to see Marshall taking on Colorado State in the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl. We're also going to see Middle Tennessee State taking on Arkansas State in the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl.
So, yeah, it's good to get the bowl season started there. We're going to have college football on all the way through, New Year's there. So, some good games to take a look at. After this week, some of the bowl games get a little bit better matchups on there, so we'll get a little bit more in depth on those. But before we close out college football there, we've got to get a phone call in from one of our If It Sports regulars.
Hey, guys, this is Jamie. I'm sorry I hadn't caught in the last couple of weeks, but I know it's a bad weekend for Josh with Wentz taking an ACL injury, and that's probably pretty much done the Eagles in, especially for the Super Bowl chances. Also, I think Tennessee is recouped about as good as you can with the coach they've got. He's putting together an excellent recruiting class, but we all know after you get them in, you have to coach them, so let's hope he can coach also. Have a good day and a Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you. Bye.
All right, Josh. That was one of our loyal supporters here at the If It Sports Show. Jamie calling in again. Gave you a little moral support there with the loss that y'all took there with Wentz going down.
Yeah, I was kind of starting to get through that as we rolled through the show, so I appreciate you bringing that back up, Jamie.
He also had a question about how you feel about how the Tennessee coaching search is going here.
I mean, when you hit rock bottom, there's really no place to go but up. So they have officially made a hire. They brought in Jeremy Pruitt. Guys may actually know him from MTV Two-A-Days. He was a defensive coordinator there for the Hoover High School on that, so that's probably his claim to fame. I guess it really his claim to fame was he came as the defensive coordinator for Nick Saban down there at Alabama. So we're seeing the SEC still getting populated with Saban former coaches. I don't know if that's good for the league, if it really brings in the different mindset or the different thinking. I guess if you can't beat Saban, join him is the mentality, and I don't quite buy into that. Another hire also, we see who controls the SEC. This is a Jimmy Sexton client, so he's bringing in one of his clients to fill this position. Pruitt's going to bring in Tyson Helton probably to be his offensive coordinator. He's coming out of USC. And Kevin Sherder, the UGA linebacker coach, he's tagged to be their defensive coordinator probably when Georgia finishes up their season. They're getting recruiting under the way. They've got a new coach in there, probably going to have a good, not a great recruiting class this year. We'll see how they do, but I'm not completely sold on this hire. I don't think it was the best candidate that they could have got.
I thought I heard something about a former Florida State guy maybe getting on there too. Is that Chris Winkie? Is he coming in the fold also?
I don't know what position he's coming in as right now. Probably some quarterback coach or something like that. But, his name has been in the rumors as filling one of the coaching staffing jobs.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. They've got Phil Fulmer back in house. I saw a headline that Phil Fulmer's going to get out recruiting and helping Pruitt. We're going to definitely see Fulmer's going to have his hands on the program.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on it, Josh. You know, when you get these guys coming in that have never had head coaching experience, it just kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, he hadn't been a head coach on any kind of level yet, so it's a different ball game when you become a head coach as compared to a coordinator. So we'll have to see how that works out. I mean, you got a lot of irons in the fire when you're a head coach as compared to, like I said, just focusing on one side of the ball or one specialty.
Tennessee is a pressure cooker. I mean, it's full time. It's 365 days a year. You know, those fans are intense. We've seen it in this search for the coach, how intense that they can be. So, I mean, we'll see how he adapts. I mean, he is coming from an environment in Tuscaloosa where they're, you know, just as ravenous fans as they will be in Knoxville. So we'll see how it goes for the new coach.
All right, Josh, so just some news coming out of baseball here. It looks like your Bronx Bombers may be actually living up to that name next year. Looks like they brought in Giancarlo Stanton. They've acquired him in a trade with the Florida Marlins. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great trade for the Yankees there. I mean, they've got the payroll to be able to support him. Really, they only gave up Sterling Castro and 2 single-A players. So from that standpoint, it was a really good pickup for them. It's really going to make a impressive lineup for them. You know, they're going to have Aaron Judge, Stanton, Gary Sanchez. I mean, just murderous row there. So, I mean, that's going to be tough to face there.
Big hitters.
Yeah, so, long ball is going to be in play. I definitely don't see the Yankees bunting too much there. So it's going to be, swinging for the fences. Probably have a lot of strikeouts next season, but, the long ball will definitely be in full effect there for the Yankees. Other news, I guess the Angels, they went overseas and picked up a player.
Yeah, it looks like the Angels have acquired Shohei Ohtani. He's a pitcher and a hitter out of Japan. I guess the best player in Japan at this time. So the Angels have acquired him, and I guess since he's going to be in the American League, the Angels are going to try to probably platoon him maybe as a pitcher and a DH, something we haven't seen in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, they say the kid's got some talent, a really good pitcher, had a good record over there, and he's got a little bit of pop in his bat, so they're going to try to DH him some. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over a long Major League season.
Looks like also in baseball news, Josh, the Modern Baseball Era Committee put 2 guys in the Hall of Fame this weekend. What do you think of their selections there?
Detroit Tiger fans are going to be really happy. Jack Morris and Alan Trammell both are going in. I think definitely Jack Morris, I would say he's really deserving on this one. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't get elected through the traditional means. Alan Trammell, maybe a little bit of a stretch there on that, but he was a shortstop, kind of transformed the position a little bit from the little guy to a guy with a little bit more pop in the bat. He was on a World Series team there with them. One player that didn't get in that I really was hoping was going to get in on this selection was Dale Murphy. 2-time MVP. I'd like to see Murphy in there.
Old school Atlanta Brave.
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the era of the 80s, only Mike Schmidt had more home runs. Murphy did get – his last couple years was just really hurt with injuries and slowed down some of his stats. But hopefully next year we can see the voters get him in. One other story that just kind of went across the wire there. This is in local baseball news. What if I said the name Tracy Stallard? Does that ring a bell or say anything to you?
No.
Tracy Stallard's actually from right close to us. He's from Coburn.
Okay.
And he was in the major leagues. He was in the major leagues in the season of 1961. He has the infamous fame of giving up Roger Maris his 61st home run.
Really?
Yeah, so but he passed away the other day at the age of 80.
Oh, wow.
He went on to have a pretty good career there, but Stallard was a local guy and a little bit of baseball history with him. The ageless wonder, LeBron James. That's the headlines. That's kind of been the stories that everybody's been, hitting as the talking points this week. Do you think, is this something that you see LeBron is an ageless wonder?
Right now, I mean, LeBron, he is kind of defying age. He's kind of ageless. He's kind of timeless. I mean, he kind of goes against everything that we've seen as far as the age curve. And LeBron at 33 right now, compared to, let's just compare him to MJ at 30. When MJ was 33, MJ's was the 1995-96 season. He won the MVP. He had 72 wins and a championship. So can LeBron do the same thing? Can he take the MVP? I mean, he's kind of playing like an MVP this year so far. He has played in 7 straight finals. Can he make it to 8 straight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I think he's definitely been impressive. The thing that kind of gets me is, LeBron, he's not that old. He's only 32. So, I mean, if you really look at it, a superstar NBA player, his peak career is like 28 through 31. So, I mean, he's really just coming out of that range. I mean, I think the thing that throws us off is this is LeBron's 15th season. Came out of high school. It seems like LeBron's been around forever, but he's only 32. So I really think we've got 2 to 3 more years of really, really, really high-level performance from LeBron. If LeBron wants to stick around when he gets a little bit older, what is he, 35, 36, 37, and that does he have a trail off in his career? Kind of the thing that I would say in LeBron's game that's a little bit different from MJ was, this time in MJ's career, he was backing players down in the post. He really developed that fadeaway. And LeBron doesn't have that to the back of the basket play. With his size, I really would like to see him start backing some players down. It doesn't take as much energy away from him. He's still having to rely on a lot of perimeter shots and driving to the basket. That's going to take a toll on a 32-year-old, 33-year-old throughout the season.
Yeah, you're right, Josh. 15th season for LeBron. He's 32. MJ's 15th season, he was 40. So MJ was kind of on his way out at that point.
Yeah, different careers, the way that they separated between 2 retirements and everything for MJ. MJ did have a lot of the pressure on him, especially the year that he went to play baseball. I think the pressure of basketball got to him. That's something that we haven't seen with LeBron. He's kind of dealt with it and really thrived with the pressure of high expectations.
Yeah, LeBron just seems like he, probably 2 different lifestyles, here. If you think about it, I mean, LeBron does seem to be focused, kind of level-headed, not really out and about a lot, He did come straight out of high school. So, I mean, he is going to, I feel like, peak a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the numbers right now. LeBron, 28 points average right now, 8.7 assists per game, and 8.3 rebounds per game. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. He's got the Cavs off to a 19-8 record, and he's still logging the minutes like he always does, 37 minutes a game. So, I mean, just an impressive going by a superstar.
Yeah, Josh, LeBron has been the star for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it looks like another NBA team, the San Antonio Spurs, are going to be getting their star back in Kawhi Leonard tomorrow. How do you think the Spurs have held up this long without Kawhi being there?
I think they've done a great job. They're 19-8 right now, 2.5 games back of the Rockets. So, I mean, position-wise, you really can't ask for much more with your superstar being out. Of course, the Spurs are the ultimate team game that they have, so one player doesn't define them, but the dynamic player in Leonard, put them in this lineup, it's going to help him. So I think that it's going to have them right there in the chase with Golden State and the Rockets for the Western Conference.
Yeah, the Spurs are definitely the old guys in that West. I mean, they do have some, like you said, team players in Manu, Ginobili, Green, Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge.
Parker's still around with them?
Yeah, Parker, Rudy Gay. I think Rudy Gay actually took a pay cut just to be able to play with Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
So, I mean, you got some good team players here, like you said, and I think they can compete again. I mean, I think they're right there.
That's right. And, before we get any further into the NBA, just kind of want to give you listeners a heads up. We've got Christmas coming up, so we'll probably be taking a week off the Christmas week there. But we do have a NBA special show that we're going to bring out there. So that week of the 25th, be looking for that. Trav, let's take a quick look at the playoff picture right now in the NBA. Look at the Eastern Conference there. What's it looking like right now?
Yeah, right now, Josh, number 1, you got the Boston Celtics sitting at 23-5. Number 2, Toronto Sitting in that third spot, you've got the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 4, the Milwaukee Bucks at 15-10, 5, Indiana Pacers, 6, Washington Wizards, number 7, you've got Detroit, and at number 8, you got New York. Out of those playoff teams, does anything stand out to you right now?
I think the 4 and 5 spot right now is a little shocking. The Milwaukee Bucks, they're holding down that 4 spot, and the Pacers, they're holding down the 5th spot. Both of them are looking really good. They've got some big wins this season. Milwaukee, I thought would make the playoffs, but I thought they would be more in that 7 or 8 range. Still early in the year, but they've got a lot of young talent. Indiana, they seem to be benefiting from the Paul George trade. So, it's got them right there. And I guess any other shock would be Washington right now is at 6. I probably had them as the number 4 team in the East. So we'll see how it plays out. But, Washington's battling a tough injury to John Wall.
Definitely. What's the Western Conference looking like right now?
Houston and Golden State are at the top on it. Then we've got San Antonio at number 3, Minnesota number 4, Denver at 5, Portland at 6, New Orleans at 7 with the big men duo. And then in that final playoff spot, we've got the Utah Jazz. That's our Western Conference playoffs right now. Same thing. Is there anything that's standing out to you?
Yeah, I would have to say Oklahoma's sitting right there on the outside looking in at number 9. I would have expected them to be up closer, around 3 or 4 with the offseason moves that they made. They're still just not clicking together just yet. Not really sure what's going on out there in Oklahoma City. The other surprise to me is the Los Angeles Lakers sitting at the number 10 spot. I mean, with Lonzo Ball and the way he's playing and leading that team, they could easily jump up to that number 8 spot and find themselves in the playoffs.
Now, he's not the only professional basketball player that is in the Ball family anymore. Looks like LiAngelo and LaMelo Ball both signed a pro deal with a Lithuanian team. Trav, how do you think this is going to work out?
Yeah, I think this news just came across late tonight, but it looks like LiAngelo and LaMelo signed a deal to play overseas in foreign land. So not really sure how it's going to work out. It's definitely going to be a big adjustment for 2 young kids like themselves. Who's going to stay with these guys? Is LeVar going to pack up and move overseas and leave his wife, who we all know is not in the best of health, over in the States? That's a lot of pressure on a family. So they even though they are kind of used to this kind of stuff, we'll have to see how they take this and how they deal with it. Neither one of these guys have any pro experience, barely any. One of them barely has any college experience. One of them's still in high school, really. Yeah. Like I said, going overseas, foreign land, they're not real. These guys haven't fared very well on foreign land.
The track record's not too good when they get overseas.
Yeah, so, and from what I've seen, the coach doesn't even speak English. So
that could be a bonus there if he doesn't have to listen to LeVar criticizing him.
True.
Now, in Lithuania, do you think there's any Louis V stores or anything like that?
I don't know, man. Just go to practice, guys, and just go back to your hotel room or wherever you plan on staying at. Don't do any shopping out there.
So I guess this officially seals it. LaMelo Ball will not be going to college. If he signs a professional contract, that's definitely, there's no way you can get around that one. But there are some teams getting it done in college basketball. If you look at the AP top 25 right now, we've got Villanova atop it right now. Number 2, Michigan State. At number 3, we've got Wichita State. Number 4, after a loss this week, is Duke. And after a big win over Kansas, we've got Arizona State moving into that top 5 spot.
Definitely, Josh. It's a nice top 5. We've got a few teams still undefeated out there, too. Villanova's at 10-0. Arizona State still sitting at 9-0. The University of Miami's at 8-0. TCU at 10-0. And then my boys, the Florida State Seminoles, still sitting at 9-0.
Okay. I think the Seminoles got a big game this week that you might want to highlight there.
Yeah. On Saturday at 2 p.m., looks like Oklahoma State will be visiting Florida State in the Orange Bowl Classic. Florida State's ranked 19 at 9-0, and Oklahoma State unranked, but they are a respected 7-2 team coming in there, so that should be a good game. Some other notable games we've got going on this weekend. Saturday at 3 on ESPN, we've got the number 7 Tar Heels taking on the number 20 University of Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, we searched through the schedules all week. I think that's the only matchup we saw with 2 ranked teams right now.
Ranked on rank, yes, sir. We've also got Virginia Tech taking on University of Kentucky. Kentucky's ranked number 8, so that should be a good matchup. Tech's 9-1, Kentucky's 8-1.
Good exposure for Tech there. They've got to travel out to Lexington. This would be a huge upset if they could get that, really put that program on the map. But yeah, it's definitely a good matchup. A lot of locals will be interested in that one. Tech's
playing some good ball right now too. The only other game we really saw to highlight at 4 p.m. on ESPN2, you got Oklahoma taking on number 3 Wichita State. So that should be a pretty good game also.
Yeah, I like that Wichita State team. I mean, this was a team kind of like what we watched when we grew up, during the 90s. They've got good senior leadership on that one, a well-balanced team. I mean, they're just a team in every aspect of the way. Now, don't get me wrong; they've got talent on this team, but they're just built what a college team used to be like in the mid '90s. It wouldn't be an If It's Sports podcast if we didn't get to the big dummy of the week.
Dummy, you big dummy, you big dummy, you big dummy, you big cold-blooded dummy, you big dummy. See what you did? Oh no, you big dummy! Oh no, you big dummy!
All right, Josh. So the big dummy for this week's got to go to my man Quentin Jefferson, Seahawks defensive lineman. He was ejected this weekend during the melee at the end of the Seattle Seahawks-Jaguars game. Don't really know why he was ejected. There was so much going on out there. But on his way to the locker room, he kind of got sidetracked after a drink was thrown at him. And instead of Quentin just, heading on into the locker room, he kind of wanted to pull some Ron Artest moves and try to go up into the stands.
Oh, you can't do that. No.
No, so that's never a good look for you, Quentin, man. So just go ahead and head to the locker room next time. It doesn't matter how many Bud Lights get thrown at you.
You big dummy!
All right, just kind of to give a quick heads up, we do have the holidays heading up here pretty soon. Next week we'll have a regular episode, but after that, on the 25th, the week of it, we're going to have that NBA special episode, so keep a lookout on that. And then we'll be back on January 2nd after some of the big bowl games with our regularly scheduled show that we have. So just be on the lookout for all that. And, before it gets here, or we'll go ahead and say it now, we want to wish all of our listeners a happy holidays. As it comes out, be safe in all your travels. Trav, thanks for talking a little bit of baseball for me in the off season. It's kind of talked me down off the ledge after that tough Eagles loss there.
Yeah, I know you've had a rough weekend and a rough Monday, man, but it'll get better. Maybe Nick Foles will come through for you guys.
He's serviceable. We'll see how that plays out. All right, that about wraps us up for today. But before we get out of here, if you want to be a caller on the show, you can always reach us at the If It's Sports hotline. That's 276-415-0029. Once again, that's 276-415-0029.
All right, Josh, that's going to wrap up another episode. Let's go ahead and get out of here.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please help us out with a subscribe on your favorite listening platform.
To find all our listening services and social media accounts, check out our website, ifitsports.com. Select the Listen to Podcast link from the top menu. And remember, if it's sports,
we're talking about it.